Story 1. So many people treat it like a game. No one wants to communicate properly. Everyone is afraid of catching feelings, and ghosting is just seen as normal now. It's exhausting. Sometimes it feels like people care more about keeping their options open than actually building something real. Story 2. How much time it wastes. If you want a genuine, long-lasting relationship, some people make it harder just to get something out of it. I don't like to waste time. I believe in honesty in potential partners. I should not have to find out on the third date, or worse, that whatever they told me, even if minor, turned out to be a lie. I have a lot of respect for honest people. We may not be a match, but at least they respect me. Otherwise, even if we connect and might otherwise be someone I would focus on, they did not respect me enough to be honest from the start, so the most we could be is friends. Story 3. By the time I have a chance to warm up to someone, they have already moved on to somebody else. I have never really understood people who date multiple individuals at once, having prospects lined up within a week. I am a bit old-fashioned, and I like to invest all my time in just one person, which takes time to develop that connection. With the current speed dating culture, I feel I cannot compete with that. Story 4. People are trying to meet unrealistic expectations right from the start without actually getting to know the person. Many aspects of life will only meet 6 to 7 criteria at most. Too often, people overlook others because they do not perceive them as perfect. Story 5. There is no communication. Everyone believes that the other person should initiate the conversation and make ongoing efforts. Story 6. People believe they have endless choices. Many seek short-term dating experiences instead of building long-term relationships. It no longer seems genuine, even in a major city. Story 7. I met my wife before smartphones were prevalent. I feel like I took the last helicopter out of Vietnam. I'm sorry for all of you. Story 8. What I dislike about dating today is that it feels like trying to find Wi-Fi in the wilderness. Everyone is out there searching, but nobody seems to connect. Story 9. Everybody enjoys drinking wine with friends at the beach. Please tell me something about yourself. I love my dog is not enough to define who you are. What are you passionate about? It could be dogs, football, gaming, or the history of the American penny. Please share more than just the most generic traits. Story 10. Ghosting. I met a woman very close to my age, and we had a lot in common. We laughed at the same jokes, among other things. I recently broke my hip while mountain biking, and she stopped talking to me without any explanation. Story 11. An outsider looking in, happily married. It seems most people are more superficial and less patient. It appears that if the other person is not perfect immediately, it is time to end the relationship. Or if they do something mildly annoying, it's also time to part ways. Story 12. No one wants a serious relationship. When I say no to casual hookups, I get blocked or otherwise ghosted. Do you have to specify that you're exclusive? I'm sorry, but if we've been on more than 2 dates, I'm not seeing anyone else. Once we've slept together, I am definitely not seeing anyone else. What is a situationship? I thought I was dating a guy for about 4 months, only to find out he considered us to still be talking and was actively using dating apps and hooking up with other people. Honestly, I'm starting to wish I belonged to a culture with arranged marriages because this is absolutely ridiculous. Story 13. Ghosting. Many people are so focused on finding someone better that they fail to appreciate the person in front of them. Story 14. Hookup culture. Many people focus solely on sex, but a relationship is not just about physical intimacy. While sex is a part of it, a relationship is fundamentally about genuinely loving the person you are with. Sex should not be merely a fleeting pleasure. It is about building trust and sharing a meaningful connection with your partner. Story 15. I'm not very good looking in pictures. I get approached in real life, but pictures do not do me justice. I have the gift of gab, but it has to be in person, and it's challenging nowadays. Story 16. In my opinion, the digital age and dating applications have led to a hookup culture and superficial connections. There is a lack of depth and a loss of authenticity, presence, and respect for real romantic relationships. For someone who craves something meaningful and soulful, the dating world is disheartening. Story 17. It all feels like window shopping and corporate market research. It stopped being about meeting good people, becoming friends, and seeing if things evolved. It just became about fleeting desire and checking shallow boxes. Story 18. Society now makes men more hesitant to approach women, and women need to be more direct when they are interested in men to ensure security on both sides. Story 19. Dick pics and opening lines that are "wanna hook up?" Men think they are competing against other men, but they are actually competing against my current level of peace, contentment, and happiness. If they can't enhance that, why would I date someone to be unhappy? Story 20. Agreeing to be in a relationship and then continuing to be single for as long as possible is a common situation for many people. It seems that around 80% of individuals experience this. Story 21. Dating applications. Fortunately, I am out of this race. I have found the right person for me. However, if I were still single, I would prefer to remain single for the rest of my life rather than use any dating application. I believe they undermine the very essence of being human, and I partially blame them for the current state of relationships. Story 22. How everyone is in a rush to find love, get married, and have children. Seriously, slow down, talk, and get to know each other. I'm not referring to individuals who are only interested in casual relationships. I'm pointing a finger at those who have detailed lists of their ideal partner, track dates meticulously, and approach the early stages of dating like it's a race. Story 23. People can be difficult to understand. The sad thing is that until it happens to you, you may not know what to look for until it is too late. Story 24. Nothing. I love it. There are many interesting people to meet if you look in the right places and enjoyable experiences in the right spaces. Story 25. Everyone is wearing a mask. No one is as interesting as their profile suggests. To be honest, on Sundays I wake up late and do laundry, which may show my age. Story 26. Low accountability, individuality, and emotional intelligence are concerning issues. However, the worst aspect is the illusion of choice, which is harming romance. Many people are turning down potentially great partners due to an unrealistic idealization. In doing so, they are delaying or completely shutting themselves out from the possibility of starting a family, particularly for women with biological clocks. Story 27. That I hate all men or men suck mindset after a breakup, only to be with a new man 2 months later. Story 28. Hookup culture and leading on multiple people because it suits you are prevalent. Nothing is taken seriously anymore, and people are often selfish. Many act irresponsibly and pretend it is normal. Story 29. I dislike that there is so much trial and error with people who are unsure of their wants. It creates a chaotic situation where numerous individuals lack clarity and effective communication, often making the effort feel unworthy. Adding to this is the complicated issue of gender conflicts, and frankly, I've distanced myself from it. There have been too many unsuccessful attempts. Story 30. Hookup culture and the belief that the grass is greener on the other side are prevalent. No one wants to put in the effort to get to know someone, and having multiple options lined up is becoming too normalized. Story 31. People my age in their 20s are very unromantic. It's off-putting when someone is overly sexual right after we meet. I am not going to engage in intimacy just 5 minutes into our introduction. No one seems interested in taking the time to get to know each other anymore. It's like they expect relationships to form instantly, and if they don't, they just move on. It's really frustrating. Story 32. People often confuse compromising with settling regarding partner characteristics, and they refuse to date anyone who isn't a perfect 10 out of 10 in their eyes. Story 33. Hookup culture has led people to believe it is acceptable to have a side partner. It raises the question, why be with someone if you have a replacement? You should give your partner all your love. Story 34. Everyone has been influenced by social media, influencers, and individuals with agendas to believe certain things, act a certain way, and misinterpret everything. As a male, even though I haven't put much effort into dating lately, the last time I tried, it felt more like an interrogation of who and what not to be than an opportunity to see if there was a mutual connection. Story 35. Everyone is so afraid of being alone that they jump from one relationship to another without taking the time to heal. They bring all their baggage with them. Story 36. I don't know if I would know how to date. I was married for just under 29 years when my wife died, and the world has changed a lot in that time. Online dating sounds miserable to me. Story 37. Apps have disrupted meaningful connections and the slow, organic process of getting to know someone. I met my partner in real life at a running club, and we were friends for a year before we started dating. If I were ever single again, I would avoid apps entirely. If that meant staying single forever, then so be it. They are terrible. Story 38. Authenticity is about revealing flaws, yet there seems to be no one genuine anymore. Everyone claims to want the real thing, but they often mean easily digestible bits of character. It is akin to privileged individuals visiting South Korea and receiving a watered-down experience of the challenging reality that lies beneath the surface. It is easy to express concern, but it is much harder to take action. Everything, not just dating, revolves around consumption and entertainment. Story 39. I can't say I love dating now, but that's because I'm dating and living with my boyfriend. When I was single, it was challenging. You manage multiple apps and communicate with different people. If you want to find someone, your free time is dedicated to that, often much more than you'd like. Most of the time, it results in 1 or 2 dates that lead nowhere. There are people who don't mention they are vegan until the first date, those who use outdated photos and are significantly overweight, individuals with unacceptable political views, and others who don't eliminate spiders in their apartment but let them create a nest. You can't make this up. Story 40. I don't think this is just a 21st century issue, but why don't we talk or know how to receive communication in a healthy way? Either we are expressing it incorrectly or we are interpreting it incorrectly. Story 41. Not receiving a response, people not being honest, stumbling at the smallest issues, avoiding challenges when things get tough, and lacking initiative. Story 42. Having too many options can lead to analysis paralysis, making you second-guess whether someone even better for you is among them. This often results in individuals remaining single or not dating at all due to burnout. Story 43. I really dislike the indifference and how dating apps have turned us into a collection of red flags. Many people claim, there is no one out there. Yet at the same time, no one is truly making an effort, and we merely see each other as numbers. There is no building or sustaining connections. We are just waiting for things to happen, often without even realizing it. Some individuals believe that sparks should fly on the first date. While this can happen, it often takes time for people to warm up. A second date is warranted, provided the first one was not terrible. Typically, you meet the representative persona, or how a person wishes to be perceived on the first date. Story 44. It's hard to find a child-free partner when you are child-free. People try to convince you to have kids or outright insult you. Mainstream beauty standards can be frustrating. I won't change my personal style because someone expects me to tan, wear high heels, or like pink and flowery designs. The notion that women cannot have standards and should date anyone, regardless of their behavior, or else be labeled as high maintenance is outdated. Story 45. No one wants to fight for the relationship anymore. As soon as anything gets slightly uncomfortable, it's over and on to the next. Story 46. Everything seriously though, it's the lack of effort on all sides. Everyone is treating others as just an option in a pool of endless possibilities, when in reality it's just an illusion, in my opinion. At this rate, most people are opting for low effort in everything because they either think their next match is around the corner or they don't want to get played and become overly invested too soon. Story 47. Social media has made dating too easy, which often leads people to take it less seriously. An excess of choice actually harms dating. Story 48. Situationships. I was in this dynamic, unknowingly on my part, for over a year. I had expectations of something more because this guy and I genuinely got along very well. Then I realized the change in his behavior. He was keeping me around for convenience. I cut ties with him and all he said was, "All right, say less." And that was it. It hurt a lot, and I honestly haven't been the same since. I can't get over how easy it was for him to move on as if we didn't have months of history and conversation. It felt more real for me than it probably ever was for him. Not to mention the time I wasted that I cannot get back, which upsets me the most. I wish people would be more transparent about their intentions initially. There's something so wrong about leading people on for personal benefit. I've never had that in my heart to do that to someone. Since that dynamic, I feel like I continue to hold on to a lot of hurt and anger that has not resolved with venting or crying. Nothing makes me want to look at another person and give it a try because my expectations have been terribly lowered due to the cycle of trying to make a connection, getting led on, and the person basically trying to get you to sleep with them. They either keep you around solely for that or distance themselves after getting what they want. Then I see people my age who are in relationships and getting married and starting families. Things I've always wanted, and that makes me feel bad about myself. The best thing that's been keeping me stable is convincing myself that being single is the easier option and learning that there are other ways to feel fulfilled without the need for a relationship. Story 49: How little effort people put in. Canceling plans without even trying to reschedule. Not even a simple acknowledgement like, "I can figure out a time later and get back to you." Just silence. Ghosting. Having no clear ideas about what they want to do or where they want to go, always relying on you to make decisions. They don't ask questions or pay attention during conversations, just playing on their phones or giving short responses. There seems to be little to no interest beyond getting through the week to buy alcohol at a bar. They come across as indifferent, as if social media and smartphones have dulled their engagement with the world. These are common issues I've encountered. Story 50. That every girl thinks she is impressive. Make me laugh. Don't be boring. Come correct. These are among the most common expectations. Story 51. Women's standards for men have increased to the point of excluding over 90% of men from dating. Those men who do meet these high standards have no incentive to settle down or behave well in relationships, resulting in a negative experience for the women they date. Story 52. People are often lonely these days, or rather, since the beginning of time. Then there are those who love loneliness. This may not seem to make sense, but it can make sense. Story 53. Nothing really, it's fine. I just need to take some good pictures and get used to the applications. They work if you do it correctly. Story 54. I recently met someone with whom I feel a connection. How should I approach this? Should I be direct or subtle? Or should I ignore the feeling and hope for something more suitable? I know the answer. Story 55. The number of people who use dating apps to cheat is alarming. I was recently a victim of this. I was the other woman and had no idea. I feel terrible for his partner. Story 56. Online dating and dating apps have turned forming connections into a task. The best analogy is when you're constipated and you know you have to go to the bathroom, so you sit down and force something out. That's literally how online dating feels now. People are forcing a spark or trying to create something that just isn't there. And if something is created, it often feels forced and artificial. I don't know how to explain it. Additionally, I dislike not being asked on dates. Like when someone says, "Let's go on a date." Instead, it's all casual hangouts, and I immediately assume it's platonic unless you ask me out explicitly. What is a situationship? You're either going on dates or in a relationship. It's either casual dating, exclusively dating, or committed. I think I'm just so confused at this point. Also, don't get me started on all the games like don't reply too fast or you seem too eager or the 3-month rule and the 6-month rule. Firstly, if you aren't interested in having a conversation with me, then I assume you aren't interested and I will move on. Secondly, there are no time limits to developing connections. Story 57. With online dating, there are endless possibilities, and everyone always seems to be chasing that connection. Story 58. No one is talking. Everyone is just sharing a social media post. My favorite TikToks are people saying the date was a perfect score, the partner was perfect, but they didn't connect. I wonder if they are just making content about how their dates were disappointing. Story 59. How social media have turned us into products. The dating apps are so disappointing that when I make a new attempt, and I'm sure others, Refer to the people as users and use non-personalized terms as a coping mechanism. When you're not matching with your most desired right swipes, it helps to rationalize that they aren't real to begin with, especially if you feel that you are doing your best with the cards the dating apps deal you. Story 60. I dislike how a man's kindness towards women is often seen as a sign of romantic interest. Why can't a man simply want to be nice to everyone? Additionally, why did this man have to be so attractive? Story 61. Social media's effect on people is significant. Posturing and comparisons pressure individuals to showcase ideal relationships to an audience of digital metrics. Attention spans are minimal. Engaging in activities like reading and discussing books, or having intellectual conversations about personal interests from school days is increasingly rare, especially without turning these discussions into debates. Story 62. I have yet to find any man who either engages in small talk once every other week or is immediately seeking sexual activity. It seems that some men also struggle to understand the words, no, stop, and I don't like that. Whatever happened to learning about each other first? Story 63. This has happened to me a few times. I match with a lady, we talk, we get along, have a bit of chat and flirting and swap pictures. Everything seems to be going well. We say goodnight and plan to speak in the morning. I wake up to find I have been unmatched or blocked. Were they ever serious about me? Why not just say they aren't interested? Story 64. What I dislike is how some individuals have a date lined up every day of the week and then complain about each one while lamenting their single status. Dating is genuinely challenging these days, and it is frustrating to hear people with numerous options still complain about trivial matters. Additionally, I have noticed that many people tend to be superficial, but that is a topic for another time. Story 65. It has permanently passed me by. I have possibly 30 more years ahead, maybe even more, but my chance to not be alone during that time is long gone. Story 66. Nothing. It's easier than ever. Many people have little social skills. I am basically broke, have never used a dating app, and it's just so easy. My dates consist of going to the beach, kayaking, and enjoying simple free outdoor activities. Story 67. I could fabricate excuses, but the reality is that I only dislike my role in it. I do not want to divert my time from myself and the goals I am pursuing in life to engage in dating and getting to know someone. At times, I feel romantically or sexually lonely, but I am not interested in casual encounters. Therefore, I am accepting that this aspect of my life will be a sacrifice for greater peace of mind and productivity. It would be easy to project those feelings and blame others or external situations, but that kind of accountability is one of the many areas I am focused on improving. Story 68. The endless texting back and forth for weeks just to set up one coffee date that might not even happen. Everyone is so afraid of meeting in person now. Story 69. To be honest, I dislike being the only one like myself. At my age, in my 40s, I am looking for a specific type of partner, specifically a well-adjusted woman between the ages of 36 and 45. I live in Asia, where there are many such women, and they all seem anxious about never finding the right person. I receive many matches on popular dating apps, and their initial messages often express disbelief that they finally found someone like me. I do not consider myself a catch. I am just an average Latino man. I attempt to introduce them to my friends, but most of my friends prefer to date younger women. Story 70. Approaching a woman is just as likely to result in being labeled a creep, accused of harassment, or being considered toxic as it is to get you a date. Story 71. Now that I'm back on the apps, I'm seeing many responses to profile questions that express a desire to be a trophy wife. I don't mean to sound confrontational, but it gives the impression that you're just looking for someone to take care of you so you don't have to provide for yourself. Story 72. I have never dated, so I can't comment on that, but I dislike that you need to date to find a girlfriend. Why can't she just be there? I don't know. Story 73. Often, the promised date never materializes. People may lead others on as long as they are benefiting from the situation. For many, it has become more about manipulation than about finding a genuine partner. Story 74. From the outside looking in, it seems that people now have too many options, which makes them less committed to getting to know someone properly before moving on to the next candidate. I used to love dating in my 20s. It always felt intimate and genuine. None of the swiping nonsense, though it does seem fun. The longevity is often lacking in many of those relationships. Story 75. I have become so accustomed to not seeing any results that I no longer expect them. I also cannot imagine being in a relationship again. It has been so disappointing that it has led me to feel asexual. Story 76. People used to write letters to each other to stay in contact, send postcards, page someone, or find a payphone or landline. Now, the ability to stay connected is in the palm of our hands at all times, and the likelihood of finding someone to date who won't think you randomly dislike them or ghost them after a single 24 hours of no texting is very slim. There was a time in my life when I could unplug by sitting around and reading a 200-plus page book in a day without finding a dozen messages waiting on my phone when I was done. But I wasn't old enough to care about dating while experiencing that. Story 77. I'm Filipino, so I really miss the old days when men would court women. Sometimes they would sing for the ladies. Nowadays, dating is so fast that no courting is needed. In just 2 to 3 weeks, people enter into relationships without truly knowing who they are dating. Story 78. Women have unlimited options but tend to share the same few among themselves. Men have limited options and often choose to opt out instead. Story 79. I can't get anyone to ask questions back. I enjoy learning about other people, but I lose interest if the conversation is one-sided. Story 80. It is just a status now more than an actual connection between two human beings. It feels like a trend rather than love itself. Story 81. It has become very self-centered and transactional, instead of being about finding someone with whom you can connect and grow together. Story 82. How people find being earnest strange. Many individuals believe they must pretend to be someone else to find a partner, which is the exact reason they struggle to find one. You are looking for one person. Why try to appeal to billions? Story 83. Everyone is focused on what they can gain from a dynamic instead of investing in the individual. I have been guilty of this in the past, and I've spoken to others who behave the same way. It's frustrating. Story 84. The concept suggests that being cold and nonchalant makes one attractive. I have lost count of how many times I have heard, "Don't be too sweet with him. He's going to lose interest." It makes no sense because the only person you will attract this way is someone who is mentally unstable. Story 85. We don't need to hate anything. The solution is simply to recognize the patterns that determine our relationships. When you understand the factors behind someone's negative behavior, you can view the situation from a different perspective and even help solve those issues. I specialize in the psychology behind reactions and decision-making processes related to dating and relationships. Join my growing community, and let's break it down together. Story 86. Double standards. I have to accept a stranger for how they choose to live their life, even change myself to suit them. They do not have to change, however. My decision not to change simply to please someone else reflects a closed mind. Their decision not to change is their right. Story 87. It is a game of something for nothing. It is a game. Whoever can give the least wins, and whoever gets the most wins. It is self-serving with no sense of companionship. It is difficult for the true lovers out there. Story 88. Not understanding that their lack of communication hurts the other person, even if the situation doesn't reach a relationship status. Story 89. Ghosting is frustrating when someone you have been talking to or dating suddenly disappears without any explanation. It has become far too common and leaves people feeling disrespected. Story 90. It frustrates my wife. The kids say, "I want to hang out with the nanny." And I respond, "Me too." Somehow, we both ended up staying at home to watch a movie or something. Dating is challenging these days. Story 91. There are many individuals seeking temporary validation without self-reflection, accountability, or loyalty. Story 92. I'm not in it, but I have friends who are, and this swiping culture is ridiculous. There are women out there disregarding really good, intelligent, and caring men who are actually good-looking. What exactly are these women looking for? A pinup model with a six-pack? I used to date someone like that for about a week. The sheer amount of time men like that have to obsess over food, not just what they eat, but when they eat, and then how much they have to work out is crazy. Men like that don't make very good dating material. Give a real man with a balanced lifestyle a chance. Story 93. Having standards in a world of independence is challenging. I am 29 years old, and I make an effort to stay in shape. In 30 swipes on any dating app, 28 profiles will show individuals who are overweight, have children, or sport a nose ring. I am not attracted to any of these traits, making it difficult to find someone I consider decent. Additionally, they must have a personality that matches mine, which presents another challenge. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.